I've always, me personally, I value that always at a high level because I've always recruited a kid. I'd rather always taken a kid who's had a feel or IQ rather than just an athlete. And being at different levels, you can really tell that IQ and feel translates to every level. And it translates, that's what leads to success in my judgment and stuff. But I think you find those skills in guys that come from winning programs that have won championships, and you see that and feel that by talking to other people within their program, if they're assistant coaches, or head coaches, or other players, to see how they lead.
South Dakota was in the Summit when you were there. Was that the league you were in?
Yeah.
So You've been in the Summit, you've been in the Mountain West, you've been in the Big 12 and Pac-12. I mean, was there positional size differences from guard to guard from?
Yeah.
There what? Okay. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think people don't understand
point guard.
that either.
Yeah. Point guard, two guard. You know, your forwards, your bigs. Yeah. It's it's an inch, if not more.
Yeah.
Summit League, and then to here. You know, that's a big deal. That's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, when you're talking inches, but then you're talking length too. You know, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
Not quite as much in the men's game, but length is a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah. And Pat, I mean, you were in the Horizon, you were in the Mo Valley, Mountain West. I mean, what's the average size of a guard in mid-major basketball right now?
I would say, when I was in the Horizon League, we had success in the Horizon League because our guards we were more physical and we were a little bigger at the guard spot. We weren't as athletic, but we were different than most people in the Horizon League. So that's why we had success last year at Green Bay. When I was in the Valley, we finished third in the Valley. Our guards were 6'1", 6'2", 190, 195, 200 pounds, with speed and physicality. And the Mount West is like Lars said, like there's length. It's unless you have a big time burst to you. This league, you gotta have physicality, and you gotta have length, and you have to have speed.
Yeah. Good stuff. And then my question about portal, and Matt, I'll let you kind of ask the last portal question. What are the key factors you guys are looking for when you're recruiting out of the portal? And does that change year to year based on your needs? Go ahead, Matt. Yeah, go ahead.
I'll answer. I do think it changes what you need year to year, but it goes back to what you value in my opinion. And I think, can you recruit guys that come from winning programs, that have had success, that have played, and how can do they impact winning? And I think there's so many guys in this profession that get enamored with, oh, well, we're going to take a transfer from USC and they haven't played. So sometimes, I'd rather take a kid who's played at an NAIA and has had success, and he's played and he has game experience. Sometimes that matters, and stuff. And that's you value some different things, and you look at the positions, right? There's a lot of positions that translate, skill translate, shooting translates at a high level, at almost whatever level it is. Rebounding translate from level to level. I'm a believer in guys that have played and have impacted winning to some sort at whatever level it's been at. Because I always say, a kid can hurt you. A kid can't hurt you if he's not in your program. But if a kid's in your program and he's not good enough, well, he's hurting you. So like as an assistant, you try to put all the ego aside and try to recruit the best kid that fits your head coach, and the best kid that can impact winning.
Yeah, I guess I would, definitely start with if you lost a position, um, you want to fill that as quickly as you can, and then, yeah, where they help you, is this kid better be better than the one that's, been in your program for a year or two that, could be in that position, and that's one thing we talk about a lot, do they impact us right away? If we're going to bring someone in, make sure this scholarship is being used. Well, it better be better than the person you got sitting here, because then, I just don't see the value of you might as well sit on it and wait and get a high school kid, and hope to develop them. But yeah, it's tricky, it's tricky, you always talk about why are they leaving, are they not in, a really good point, a lot of teams, they hunt for a P5 kid, P4. Well, there's a reason they're leaving. Probably not not good enough. They missed. I mean, I really, really believe, that just a vicious cycle, of taking transfer portal kids way too much. And try not to steal all Pat's thunder, but I mean, you talk about ego. Well, didn't play at this program. Well, you know what? We're better coaches. We can make this kid better, and they can play for us.
Right.
There's a reason they aren't playing because they're not good enough. So it's just, you better have, a spot on evaluation, and a lot of trust, of taking a player from the portal these days. I don't know if I answered your question, Steve.
Yeah, and just so the audience is
thoughts.
aware, no, that's great. You did. And just so the audience is aware, if Utah is losing a starter that gave them 16, 7, and 5, that's a hell of a stat line that you're losing in a position that's important. You're not probably filling that position with a high school kid, correct?
No.
Yeah. And
No.
Pat, same thing on the guy's side?
Yeah, we're not recruiting 5 stars. So
Yeah, I was going to
no.
say, we're still Utah. We're not sitting courtside at McDonald's All-American game. All right. We're not getting them.
Yeah. Great.
Well, so Ryan, you alluded to this. How do you evaluate a kid in the portal versus a high school kid? Because time is a factor, right? Because the portal, that window is only open for so long. So I would think the depth, it's going to be hard to get to the same depth with a portal kid as it is with a high school kid.
Oh, for sure. It's speed dating is what it is when it comes to the portal. I mean, so much pressure on those kids to make a decision. There's so much pressure on, staffs and programs to fill their roster. I'm sorry. Come here. I'll flip this to Pat. My doodle is going crazy. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Our first dog on the show. Our first dog on the show.
We love it. That's great. That's great.
I think, I mean, as far as how we go about things would, like I go back to what you value, and I think, yeah, we're not taking, a high school kid probably over a portal kid. Our biggest thing right now is because we got the job in May, is for us to continue to bring guys in that come from winning programs. And I think within the portal, like for the last 2 months, I watch a ton of college basketball. I'll watch a ton of random games. And so we'll have an idea of guys that, hey, if they go in the portal or connection, like we already have a list of guys. The portal's not open. We already have a list of guys who we're going to go after. Like when we have bad practices on the practice plan, I already write my roster down of 15 players that I want, 13 players I want. And shoot, it's been an up and down year for us. And I've even told our guys, yep, this is the roster. This is where we are. So, I mean, nowadays, like it's changed so much. Like you have the ability to flip your roster every year. And obviously I think with the men on the men's side, it's a year by year basis. And how can you flip it? How can you have success consistently?
I'll finish my thought before my dog comes back down here. Sorry about that again.
That's all right. That's a first. That's a first.
Hey, I'm happy to provide a first. Hopefully
That's
not
right.
first of many. But,
Results. There's nothing like that. Yeah.
I put a lot of value in. There's a kid in the portal that I recruited before. I put a lot of value in that, and that's something we, look a lot at. Pat's writing down his names on on the roster. I'm going jumping on websites and going, no, yeah, she didn't play again. All right, well, how many more days we've got to the portal opens? Because I'm pretty sure her name's going in there. And it goes back to that relationship piece. If you had a good relationship with someone, you probably got a pretty good chance of getting them. I put a lot of stock in that. Just because the evaluation's different. You probably watched that kid play, a dozen high school games and 100 some AU games. And so your evaluation is a little bit different there, but probably even more so for me is the personality of the kid, and what you're getting into there. That's one thing I put a lot of stock in the portal, even though that's probably a very small sample size of players. That's one thing where I'm really, really looking at, to if there's a familiar name that pops up, we're going hard after them. Yep.
So you guys are both in season, and obviously, a lot of responsibilities outside of recruiting when you're in season, right? How do you guys handle, Pat, I'll go with you. How do you guys handle recruiting when you're in the middle of the season, and you're dealing with, the ongoing, team needs and responsibilities that you have as an assistant coach?
Yeah, I mean, I still try to recruit. Like this whole year, I've been recruiting a bunch of 26s. I try to do that from the high school standpoint. And I mean, like, I don't recruit a lot of guys. I know who a lot of guys are, but I don't recruit a lot of guys. And meaning by that is staying in constant contact with, if it's every week, every other week, if it's high school or junior college. And then obviously, like Larson said, like really studying and watching other games and other players that you recruited or know of, that following them and stuff. I mean, Steve, I've hit you about a couple guys throughout the whole year.
Yeah.
I just wait for the portal. So like, I mean, it just is what it is. And if you're not on top of it, I think the biggest thing that some people can get miscued with is that, like, for us, it's like, okay, like once the portal opens, oh, we're just going to get our roster. Like, you got to have an idea and a plan going into it and leading up to it, because if you just go into it, oh, we're just going to go in the portal and get this guy and get this guy, well, yeah, it's probably going to be a tough November, December, January, and February for you. But it's just a constant awareness, constant study of just finding guys and going back to your past relationships.
Right. How about you? How do you guys handle recruiting during the season?
Yeah, it's getting a little easier now, I would say. The NCAA allows us, more people can be on the phone, all right, which is quite a bit different than it was even 2 years ago, probably. So more people are able to call, more people are able to go out on the road, and it's obviously resources help a bunch, where you're at. Pat brought it up, but he forgot I was in Wyoming, when he first got there. I say this with all true love. I love Wyoming. I loved everything about it. You know, Utah is probably one of the very, very few places I would leave Wyoming for. But in the season, it was hard to get out and watch games from Wyoming. You know, you're either going out to, you know, Laramie Regional Airport to catch a flight to the DIA, you know, to go somewhere else, or you're driving down to Denver, you know, catch a flight. You know, here I got a 15-minute drive from my office to Salt Lake City Airport and have all the same flights to where I want to go. You know, that's an advantage. You know, and again, that's no slight on Wyoming, because I love Wyoming. All right, but it's just, you know, resources make things a lot easier. And it was just much easier for me to jump on the plane and go watch a game, and heck, be back in time for practice at 10 a.m. The very next day. That's it makes it that much easier. But I put a lot of value in watching players play with their high school teams, interacting with their high school coaches and their high school players. I just still think that's where the purest form of basketball is right now. And that's how we all started doing it. The pet bands, they're still a lot of fun for me, all that stuff. But yeah, we're after it pretty good here at Utah. But you have to be, you want to continue to, be in the upper half of the Big 12. You got to put the work in and not just evaluate, but show these players that you're serious about getting them. And, the phone calls and the texts and, the mail outs and all that stuff is great. But I think the biggest form of, when a player sees you in the stand, I think that goes along a little extra farther than a phone call or a text more often than not. So
let's jump down from phone call and text. What about social media, Ryan? Like, how does social media, clips, highlights, huddle, how does that impact? Because you're coming from, like you said, Wyoming, and the resources of Utah you can't compare, but you've been at different levels. How has that impacted recruiting?
From like our social media or a players?
No, players.
Players? Yeah. It's big. It's really big. I hope that player is running their account, first and foremost, because, when somebody else isn't, other than the player running that account, it's I start to question what it's all about, yeah, it's big. I'm not afraid to say it. I know it. I own it. I got to get better at it. I think that's a young person's game. Okay. Our two, our three female assistants, they're fantastic about, following players and being on their Twitter and Instagram and stuff like that. I'm just okay. I got to get better. Right. Yeah, I know that. But they get all kinds of great information out there. If it's highlight videos or just, how they played the night before, who cares if they put out, so-and-so offered me. All right, that's great information to have, but it doesn't affect how I recruit them. Yeah. But social media, it's a big deal anymore. And, being grumpy old man, at 47 years of age and being this 23 years, I never thought I'd say that, but I am a big believer that if a player is doing their social media account the right way, it's going to help them for sure. Yeah.
And I love that you brought up that the kids run their own. That's huge. That's huge.
Yeah. I appreciate the fact that we can say things on this podcast that we probably couldn't have said a couple of years ago. Right, Pat? You know what I mean?
That's right.
I mean, we're talking about what this kid to go to the portal recruit. We couldn't have said that 2 years ago. I love this right now. It's fun.
Yeah.
Pat, what about social media? Like you said, you're in Fresno, you're there for the game, you're traveling, you might not be able to get, you got a kid a couple states away, you can't get there. It's not as, how does social media play into that for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think social media is big for number one, for the kids' brand. They're developing their own brand. I think you really get, like Lars said, if they're actually running their own social media account, you can find out who they are and what they're about. I say this the best because like my boss, Coach Wicks, he's all on social media all the time. But like what people don't realize is like that's who he is every single day. Like he's the juice man. Like he is like that every single day. It's like that's his brand. And I think like you can really find out what a kid is about through their social media, by what they post. If they're like if a kid's just posting or retweeting his own highlights and nothing about his team's success or anything else, well, then that should tell you what type of individual he is or she is on a day-to-day. So I just think it can do a lot for a player's brand. You can do a lot for from a recruiting standpoint. I think it could, if you don't use it the right way, I think it can hurt kids in their recruiting too. But for the most part, it is very helpful because you can get a quick glance of what this kid is, what it's about in a quick highlight tape, and then maybe do some more research on them and stuff. But I think there's too many guys that just recruit guys just off highlight tapes. But that's just how things have progressed within the profession and stuff. And if you don't have resources and stuff too, sometimes you have to trust your eyes and stuff. But it goes back to, like I said, like you got to know what type of individual you're bringing in your program and what they're about on a day-to-day.
And last two questions for you guys, and I want to kind of have you guys talk to the audience here, our parents and our players. And Ryan, I'll start with you, and I want you to bring up the story. We talked about this maybe a year or so ago, if you can remember. It was a coach from outside of your region that was putting stuff out there, and you know who the guy was. But my question is, what are some of the common misconceptions recruits and families have about the recruiting process? And like an example, don't believe everything you see on social media. The other one is like, how important is playing for the right club team or playing on a certain, what are some common misconceptions that you think families and players have that aren't true about the process?
Man, this is probably one of those questions I better watch myself a little bit on what I say.
Yeah. Be as honest as you can.
Yeah, steer me along, Steve, because I want to make sure I answer it everything that you asked. But
so one thing we get sometimes, I'll get a parent that calls, well, hey, did you see this kid got an offer? Well,
yeah.
2028, and it's probably not a real offer because they don't even have a clue what they need in 2028. Yeah. We're in 2025, stuff like that. Or I have to play on this team on this circuit, or I'm not going to get recruited. Like those are the two biggest ones we always get like questions about. Do you guys see some of that stuff, or how much do you put in stock? What team a kid's playing on? And I tell families sometimes maybe that's not the team going to play. Because what's their reputation like? And that's kind of that. We had that conversation a couple of years ago about.
Yeah, I'll start with, I think athletes and parents and their families, this is hard. It's really hard, but they got to be realistic of where they're able to play. What level can you play at? And it's unfortunate that it's Division I or bust. That's too bad. Because you got to be a really good player to play in NAI. You got to be really good. All right, they don't understand that. You got to be a really good player to play Division II at Mankato State, where Pat was at. We all three of us were in that league. They have no idea how good those players are. All right, that's unfortunate that it's just a Division I or bust mentality. I don't, even though I coach at the P4 level, I'm a guy that started low. My very first job was Jamestown College, NAI, and I was just happy to be in the profession. That's all I wanted to do, So I just wanted to be a college basketball coach. And I think, it's just too bad that families don't know, that there's a whole big world of basketball out there where you can compete and have a great career. Too often times players go to the wrong level and they waste 2 years, and then they go to another level and then they have success, and they wasted 2 pretty good years. That's unfortunate. And I'll tie that into where, I think that's really important using a club team. You don't worry about the shoe circuit. All right. Because if you're playing on a team where, there's some McDonald's All-Americans, and, I come to watch you play and you don't get on the court, I don't do any good. Coaches need to see you play. It doesn't matter what team you're on. They need to see you play. And that's unfortunate too, because I see a lot of that as well. You better pick a team where you're going to play, their style of play, their coaching, fits who you are as a player, so you can showcase that a little bit. That's one thing I see too much of, and probably why I'd prefer to go watch a high school game, during the season than in July, with an AAU program. Is that a good start for you? Does that help you out there?
That's an outstanding answer. I loved it. Every part of that was spot on. Yeah.
Yeah. I can keep going, but I
yeah.
When I talk to recruits, I get on something passionate and I don't stop. And, an hour goes by and then I realize, they're in bed brushing their teeth. So I want to make sure Pat got a chance too.
Yeah. Yeah. Pat, what are your thoughts on that question?
Yeah. I mean, I would tell people, obviously, kind of like what you said, you can't worry about other people's offers. You can't worry about what other people AAU teams are playing on. You got to run your own race at the end of the day. And I think it doesn't matter where you played at, it's what you did where you played. And I think so many people get lost in that because when you're done playing, if you played 4 years of college or if you played 10 years of being a pro, when you're done, nobody really cares where you played at or what you did. Like you're going to go in the real world now. Like I've known guys that have played overseas for 10 years and they're in the real, and they just get in the real world. Like, it's like, yeah, nobody cared you played professional for 10 years. Great. Great job. So I think like at the end of the day, you got to stay focused on your own race. Like you can't worry about any outside noise of my teammates has 5-6 offers. I don't have any offers. Like go where you're wanted, go where you can play and you can contribute at a high level. And if you're about the right stuff, if you understand a championship level work ethic, you're going to continue to get better, and you can continue to move up, because as good programs, good coaches, they usually find winners no matter what level it's at.
Yeah, that's great.
Yep. Last one, Pat, I'll start with you. What advice would you give a high school kid that wants to get noticed by a Division I coach besides shooting 50% from three and, jumping above the rim? But as we've talked, the reality is the portal is what it is, and it's not going away. So the chances of going from high school to D1, it's getting slimmer and slimmer, but getting there eventually, right? As we've seen, like with Drake, Drake's 26-3 right now. They got 4 Division II starters and playing great. So, what advice would you give those kids, those high school kids that do have those D1 aspirations?
Yeah, and I'll go back to Drake there. Yeah, they have those 4 Division II starters that have played in the program an unlimited amount of minutes for the last 4 years, and going into, it doesn't matter. I mean, they could have went into the Mountain West here. They maybe not won the league, but they probably would have been in the top half of the league because of the continuity. Like when we left Green Bay, we were trying to bring as many guys as we could from Green Bay over here. We just couldn't, because we got a lot of guys that transferred from like Missouri Valley schools back to Green Bay that were from that area. They didn't want to leave again. But like part of it is playing. You got to go play. Like you have to go to a level in a place where you're going to play early in your career, because you need to play through mistakes. You need to play against experienced guys. You need to play with experienced guys. You need to get that game experience, because that's the only way I really believe you're going to move. Because nowadays, especially at the if you go to a spot and you don't play as a freshman, well, I mean, more than likely, you're probably just going to continue to get recruited over, because now at Division I level, you got, I mean, you're going to have 15 roster spots, 15 scholarships essentially. And like most teams are only playing 8 guys, 9 guys. So what are those 6 other guys, 7 other guys doing? And that's where I would say, like, you get noticed by winning, you get noticed by having success. And when you're averaging 50% from the 3-point line, like, you're going to get noticed. But then then a good program, a good coach is going to go like, okay, well, how are they impacting winning? Are they impacting winning? Are they on a winning team? Are they competing for championships? Well, then if you are, well, then, yeah, look at that skill will potentially translate to whatever level. So I would say going to a spot, going to a place where you can play and contribute right away.
Ryan, same to you.
It's probably, again, it's funny how the last few years your beliefs and thought process, change a bunch. I used to preach, patience, make sure that you're choosing the right school, take your time. Can't say that anymore. You just can't, so therefore it's, as the recruit, you have to be a lot more aggressive yourself. If you get an offer from, so-and-so, you better make an effort to go unofficial. All right. And speed that process up where, because you wait too long, that thing's going to be gone. All right. It could be another high school kid. If it's not a high school kid, more than likely it's going to be a portal. All right. You're going to lose that scholarship to a portal kid, somewhere along the way. Okay. That's where I've just, again, I've changed my frame of mind and philosophy when it comes to recruiting, and, I was pretty good as a recruiter, 3-4 years ago, the long haul. The longer I recruited them, the better I thought I had the chance of getting them. Again, that switched. You got to be a heck of a lot more aggressive now. And you got to offer more kids. You do. And so, again, the question that you're asking is, if you're that player in that family, you better be a lot more aggressive and go. If you get an offer, you better go make an unofficial, make it worthwhile. And if there's other schools out there that, even if they haven't offered, okay, and then they're recruiting you, you better go see, because if they do offer and that's a place you want to go and you just know it for all the right reasons and it's a place you can play, you better jump on that offer. You better, because it's too competitive anymore. It really is. And that's something, I wouldn't have said that not too long ago. All right. But that's my advice to, families anymore. If they ask me that question, if I'm recruiting them or not, it's how competitive it is anymore. It's only going to get worse, as far as the competitiveness of number of scholarships and offers out there to accept. Yeah.
I literally just had that exact same conversation with a kid today that I'm working with, who's got 3 really good Division III roster spot offers, and really good scholarships at those schools. And he's trying to see what else is out there. He wants to wait a little longer, maybe play club ball. And I told him, you got to understand, Division III basketball just ended for 90% of the teams in the country this weekend. Yeah. So that Division III transfer portal is going to light up starting today.
Absolutely.
And so he's committing this week. So he took the advice, but you're 100% right. You can't wait anymore. And if you get offered early, boy, you better take it, because that ain't going to be around in the spring. You know what I mean? So
absolutely,
that's great. You guys gave so much great information and feedback to our audience, and we really thank you guys for taking time out of your busy. I know you guys have both got games coming up tomorrow, and you're on the road. So really appreciate you guys, spending the time with us tonight and sharing your thoughts on recruiting at your level.
Yeah, no, thanks for
that was
having
a lot
us.
of fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to be on again. I want to make sure it's with Pat, though. He teed me up for a bunch of them.
That's a vet. He's a veteran in our podcast. So yeah, for sure. Well, any last words from you guys that you guys want to plug your program, or any last words from you guys before we get off the air here? Ryan, we go with you first.
No, sorry, I got nothing. Appreciate you giving me a heads up to get on here. This was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. I will say that, University of Utah, we play a really fun style of basketball. If you guys haven't tuned into us, I would highly encourage you to do that.
Didn't you guys just hit a shot at the buzzard?
Yeah.
I
So
saw
we
that.
went. Yeah. You practice just like every team in America. You practice half quarters after every shoot around. Yeah, man, they certainly paid off at that one. But we beat. I can't. We call them the team down south. If you guys know who I'm referring to, because we can't say the words. It's forbidden at Utah. But I went to overtime. It was one of the crazier games I've ever been a part of. Hit a half quarter at the buzzer to beat the team down south. And we're heading in the Big 12 tournament on a high. Got a first round bye and all kinds of good stuff. But we play a really exciting brand of basketball. It's really fun. Yeah, and a good place to be.
Yeah, awesome. Pat?
Nope. Just getting ready to go to Vegas. We got one more game. Getting ready to go to Vegas next week for a conference tournament. It'll be. No, I enjoy Wyoming. It's great. Sonny's great. He obviously, when we first got there, Larson was still working at Wyoming. So obviously, I got some information and inside scoop on the day-to-day that happens over there in Laradice. It's been great though. I really enjoy it.
He didn't buy my house though. I wanted to buy my house and he didn't do it. Cheap son.
I've never bought a house. I've always that's great. It's great though. I mean, obviously the people of Wyoming, the state of Wyoming, it's unique because it's the only 4-year university in the whole state, which is pretty cool. Yeah. I mean, you don't get to work at a lot of places that have that, especially the state school. But it's fun. Obviously, I work for a boss who's from the state and stuff, so it means something to him. And he takes a lot of pride in not only obviously the program, but the university and the people of Wyoming. So, but it's been fun, and hopefully we can continue to build our brand and our program.
Awesome. Great.
Thanks, guys.
Basketball players, are you grinding in the gym but struggling to get noticed by college coaches? Your talent deserves the right exposure, and that's where Net Results Recruiting comes in. Whether you're in high school, junior college, or prep school, we help you connect with college programs, get you promoted to college coaches, and receive expert guidance throughout your recruitment journey. Don't leave your future to chance. Get exposure, get guidance, get results. Let our team find your team. Visit netresultsrecruiting.com today and take the next step towards your college basketball dream.